This crafted lightweight bow for Season of the Seraph has a trick up its sleeve for PvP. You need the enhanced perks, but it gives Tripwire Canary one of the craziest one-shot loops we've ever seen in Destiny 2. We're gonna give Whistler's Whim a run for its money here. We've also got some never-before-seen perk combinations for PvE, so I brought in Solo Dungeon Bow Legend SamiKat to help me break it all down and answer the question, is this bow worth crafting? Do shot swap and Dragonfly?
And Dragonfly, oh my gosh,
that would have been cool.
Gorgeous.
Let's quickly break down PvP, as there are two important things about Tripwire Canary I want you to see. A super powerful way to run it, and a visual glitch you need to consider when crafting it. Okay, first, how should you run this in PvP? To me, unless you are insanely accurate with your headshots, there is only one PvP craft that I recommend you try out. I don't feel like this is a hot take because I'm just spitting facts about the archetype, but there is no reason to run a lightweight bow in PvP if you're not doing something special with the perks. Lightweights have extremely low accuracy compared to precision frame bows, and they only do 86 damage a body shot. Just like I said in the Whistler's Whim review, this means you've got to hit the headshots, and it's harder to hit those headshots with lightweights because of that low accuracy. Now, you might be one of those players that just don't miss, and if that's the case, yes. Perks like Archer's Tempo, Rapid Hit, Opening Shot, and Successful Warm-Up might be the ones you're looking for. Archer's Tempo and Successful Warm-Up are draw time buffs that work on scalers, which means they can push past the 500 millisecond draw time floor and shoot as fast as the buffs push them to. So that's great if that's you, a high recommend that we'll get into later. But personally, I know I'm just not gonna hit those headshots every time, and even if I am hitting those headshots, I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull and let go of the string faster than the 500 millisecond base of lightweights anyways. What I do like about lightweight bows, and what I think sets them apart, is their intrinsic ability to let you run faster in the game. One of the only things in the game that can do it. It boosts you halfway to an Arc 3.0 speed boost just by having a lightweight weapon equipped. Now, I love this on Whistler's Whim because it came with Gut Shot Straight. Gut Shot Straight boosts your body shot damage while aiming down sights, and it let me treat a snappy lightweight bow like it was a precision bow. Unfortunately, Tripwire Canary doesn't have Gut Shot Straight, which is a shame because the enhanced version doesn't have as many aim assist cone drawbacks as the normal version of Gut Shot Straight that Whistler's Whim is stuck with. That said, Tripwire Canary can do something else that is very, very special. As soon as I saw it, I knew. Enhanced Swashbuckler. This isn't the first bow to get Swashbuckler. Maybe you've heard Stadia Time talk about his biting winds with Swashbuckler. It's a one shot at any resil for 4.5 seconds. That's an incredible bow, but what makes this version special on Tripwire Canary is that you can craft the enhanced version of Swashbuckler. This adds an extra 2 seconds to the Swashbuckler perk, giving you a total of 6.5 seconds of Swashbuckler times 5 after a melee. Now, please don't fight me about this in the comments. I know you've heard other YouTubers say different or saw different numbers on light.gg, but I timed it out myself. Swash times 5 is 6.5 seconds. Now, with a precision bow, that would be one shot at any resilience level, but on a lightweight, you're only hitting 182 to the head with Swash times 5. Fortunately for us, Swashbuckler is the perfect perk to stack with Radiant, because Radiant is activated for free on your powered melee with the Ember of Torches fragment. Radiant and Swashbuckler times 5, which you can proc at the same time, brings your damage up to 201 a headshot, one-shotting any resilience level at any range for 6.5 seconds with the crafted Tripwire Canary bow. Oh, and we're not done yet. Y'all, Swashbuckler is refreshed on kills. So once you get one melee hit in, you can keep that one shot rolling as long as you have Radiant up. Can you imagine if Tripwire was in the solar slot? You could run Ember of Empyrean to reset your Radiant timer along with resetting Swashbuckler times 5 every time you got a kill. So on this bow, the Radiant timer is the only actual holdup here. I was on streaks where the only reason I didn't get the one shot was just because I ran out of Radiant, which when you think about how long Radiant lasts is just crazy. But the unlimited range of the bow combined with the one-shot potential allowed me to keep Swashbuckler going as long as I was hitting shots. Now, we discovered all this before on the No Reprieve slug shotgun with enhanced Swashbuckler, and that is really effective, but having one shot as body shots at close range versus having those one shots be precision shots at any range, are very different things. I think both of them are great, but different guardians might like one over the other, or one might be better for a certain playstyle over another. For instance, I ran into a few situations where the bow just wasn't going to cut it if I shoulder charged into close quarters with 2 other guardians. That said, why not both? No Reprieve is a stasis weapon in the kinetic slot, and Tripwire is an arc in the energy slot, so I began diving into situations with a different weapon depending on how many were grouped up together. If it was a group, the slug turns into a 10-meter one-shot body shot slug to clean up, and if it was a lone guardian, then the bow turned into a sniper rifle for 6.5 seconds. It's an incredible combo. Okay, the second thing you need to know as we spec this thing out for PvP before we talk to SamiKat, there is a visual glitch with Tripwire Canary's draw time stat. If you're comparing weapons and you notice this thing just isn't cutting it compared to the speed of our other bows, it's because the base draw time stat shows an incorrect number of 612 instead of the usual 580 draw time that lightweights are supposed to get. This really threw me off in the beginning because why would you run a bow that maxes out at 540 draw time when you have another arc bow, Wolf Tone Draw, that's a precision frame with much higher accuracy and can still get down to nearly the same 540 draw time. Thanks to Tenshu the Wolf's Reddit post and testing, we can confirm that this is just a visual bug only. Tripwire Canary actually draws just as fast as any other lightweight bow, so until this is fixed, be sure to spec out your bow using a placeholder like Whistler's Whim if you're using D2 Gunsmith or Light.gg, and you'll be able to see what your real draw time is on Tripwire Canary. Since there is no way we're going to outclass a precision bow with accuracy, I'm leaning as hard as I can into draw time while keeping as much accuracy as I can. With that in mind, I would go with polymer string and a draw time masterwork, as this brings your draw time to the fastest possible at 500 milliseconds and keeps your accuracy at 33. Then I add fiberglass arrow shaft to increase another plus 15 while taking away a little bit of my perfect draw from the stability stat. This doesn't bother me too much personally, so we're now at a decent accuracy stat of 48, well, for a lightweight frame it's decent, while maintaining the fastest draw time possible. I will say I'm tempted to try out lower accuracy builds too, as my conversation with SamiKat was pretty interesting once we started talking about accuracy, but it may apply more to PvE situations. You'll hear that in a minute. For the next column in PvP, I think Archer's Tempo is a great choice. Archer's Tempo's 25% faster draw time, which goes past the 500 millisecond floor, is probably my favorite here, as it lasts up to 4 seconds after a headshot with the enhanced version. This makes your one-shots really fast once you get rolling. Rapid Hit's reload speed scaler is much less beneficial with very small increases for knocking your arrows. If you're looking for increasing arrow knocking speed, I recommend Sneak Bow, as it's free for just crouching and gives you a 20% faster reload, prevents your radar ping when shooting, and lets you hold down your drawn arrow for 25% longer. After reading that, I might need to take a second look at the perk myself. That's a lot of bonuses for just crouching. It's like firmly planted for bows. Personally, I don't really use bows that way though. I am very on the move, especially with a lightweight. Also along the lines of lightweight, Slick Draw and Shot Swap are both perks made for quickly going back and forth with another weapon, and I just can't see myself doing that with a lightweight. You need something that hits a little harder for blinting and cleanups, and to me, this ain't it. I tried to use Dragonfly a bit in PvP, but it just never paid off in any substantial way. Same goes for Perfect Float. Despite such great synergy with Frenzy in the next column, no one's ever alive long enough in Destiny 2 for those perks to pay off for me. Diving into that second column, Frenzy won't even do enough damage to put the bow in precision frame damage. It's still not over 100 a body shot, so I just don't see the point here for so much work. If you're going for headshots and dueling, Explosive Head, Opening Shot, and Successful Warm-Up could all be great tools for you, but you're still fighting those accuracy stats when precision frame bows can do it so much better. I'm not even gonna mention Under Over, as if you're hitting headshots, which you have to anyways with a lightweight, you're going to kill Titans anyways. And lastly, Harmony's 20% buff isn't enough to bring you to any kind of one-shot, so I don't recommend either of those for PvP. The only thing that will give you the one-shot is going to be Swashbuckler ×5 plus Radiant. So that is my fully decked out PvP Tripwire Canary with Archer's Tempo and Swashbuckler. I think it's a blast. Now for PvE, I immediately had Dragonfly and Frenzy stick out as a fantastic combo, one we've never seen before on a bow, and it felt fantastic. But I didn't want to just judge the role based on the low-end content I was playing. I wanted to bring you an expert. Hey, SamiKat.
Hey, Lego.
I'm so glad to have you here to talk a little bit about PvE and the Tripwire Canary, because if y'all don't know, SamiKat is the bow queen of blind solo dungeon runs. And I am so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here.
I feel like the podcast person in me wants to ask you a billion questions about what it's like, but if y'all want to know that information, I highly encourage you to go check out Danfinity's podcast, Destiny Digest, where she was just a guest on and talked about a ton of that stuff. It was a fabulous episode.
Thank you. I love talking about bows, so any questions?
Good. That is why I have you here. And have you here for a bow that I'm trying to figure out its identity. And for PvP, I feel like I've got it down. But for PvE, I felt like I needed an expert. And I'm curious to see where you land on this bow. But before we get to the bow, I want to talk about real quick where people can find you. I don't want to plug you at the end. I want to plug you right now, all your information, where they can find you, because people need to check out these runs. They need to check out your content.
I can be found on Twitch, twitch.tv/SamiKat. And then I am on Twitter and TikTok and probably a couple others at SamiKat Plays. And
Awesome.
I have a YouTube that's up and coming, but yeah.
Well,
Not there yet.
all of that will be linked in the description. We're for sure going to get that out there because y'all need to check this out. But for those who don't know, I mentioned she's the blind solo dungeon bow queen, and it's true. All of the dungeons, you've done all of them now, right? I believe.
I've done all of them, 6 for 6, and that is solo, flawless, all bow, no HUD.
Incredible. I do love bows, but I find them difficult to use in PvE sometimes, and I can't, like, I'm not even that big of a solo PvE player. Another reason I wanted to have you on, like, I enjoy doing it, but like the prophecy, I found out that was your first one that you did, right?
That was not my first solo, but it was my very first all bow, spoiler free, I should say. And then it was my very first solo flawless.
Jeez. Yeah.
So
and
I hold it, and it's very dear to me.
And I haven't even soloed that one at all yet. Like, that's how low I am in the PvE realm of this. And so,
there?
Yeah, I know. And so when I approach PvE content, it's more for fun. A lot of the times it's like, oh, it has explosions. It has this cool volt shot thing. You know, that's how I approach it, or volatile rounds. And so I am curious, when you see this bow, when you see a lightweight bow, what the perks are going to be like that stick out to you. But before we get to the overarching, the nitty gritty, I should say, I want to get into the specifics of it just being a lightweight bow. And I'm curious, does the lightweight frame versus precision frame, do those mean anything to you when you're selecting which bow you want to use for a run?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And when I say yes and no, a lot of it has to deal with energy, and a lot of it has to deal specifically with the perks. So when it comes to a void bow, we have very few options. When it comes to solar bow, we have very few options. Arc now, there's 4 arc bows we have options. So 2 precision and 2 lightweight. I do like the lightweight. I like the speed. I think it makes up for the damage. I really like what I can do with it, just the agility I get.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to energy bows, I like it when it hits harder.
You don't have that extra damage that you're getting in the kinetic slot. All the kinetic bows are doing more damage just automatically because they're kinetic. And so these energy bows, they really need that extra damage that precision has.
And I generally don't use my kinetic bows as much. I consider them more my support bow. I am a big fan of shoot to loot. I know that's more of a play style than anything. Huge fan, will not go anywhere without my shoot to loot bow. But a lot of times I will just use my kinetic because I do triple bow, and you know, I need a kinetic bow. So that's where that is. But I love energy bows. I love what they can do. I love Dragonfly, favorite perk in the entire game. I like that elemental splash. I love them. they're so exciting.
They
I love
are.
them.
I was surprised how much I liked Dragonfly on this bow in particular, because I kind of thought, it's a lightweight, it won't feel as strong as some of the other ones. And as I was leveling it up, I just was like, wow, this explosion's pretty big. And my first impression before leveling up the crafted one, I had a Dragonfly Frenzy roll drop for me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting more damage all the time. Things are exploding. This feels awesome. And so in PvE, that was the role that like really stuck out to me, that I was like, man, this feels really great. So it's cool to see that Dragonfly is on this bow when that's one of the perks that excites you the most.
I like that you can do Dragonfly and Explosive Head. That is my favorite combination.
Really?
But I do have that exact roll on my Arsenic Bite. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, I can get enhanced on here, but will it replace my Arsenic Bite, which I am used to shooting? I have tens of thousands of kills on it, if not more, it seems. This bow it feels a little clunky for me. It's very large, Tripwire is. So comparatively, it's hard because a lot of it for me is the feel of the weapon, not just the perks and the power and the timing. And
I like that you talk about the feel of it though, because that is so much why you would run a bow in PvE, I feel like, is for the feel. I feel like that might be a bit of why you do what you do, is for the feel of it. And I feel the same way. That's my problem with Whistler's Whim. I really like that bow for PvP, not for anything PvE, but I really like that bow, but it's huge. It blocks like half of your screen. Yep. And I'm like, so I like that Tripwire isn't that big, but it is bulky. And for me, and I'm curious if this affects PvE at all. For me, it's the accuracy being so low as a lightweight. And I feel like precision bows are just so much stickier. Like when I'm aiming at a target, it just feels like it connects better. I didn't have as much of a problem with Tripwire in PvE, but that is still my like, do I really want to use this when there's other stronger things out there? I am curious which of these perks stand out to you. We already talked about Dragonfly a little bit. Are there any of these other ones that you're like, ooh, I like this, or I would never use this?
I don't foresee myself using, Slick Draw.
Yeah.
I do not foresee myself ever using that, because while I say I prefer lower accuracy, target acquisition still is something that comes into play. I would rather target acquisition kind of make up for it a little bit.
Gotcha.
Just having that. Handling is really good, but being that I use a lot of bows or I use a lot of lighter weapons, I don't switch between my heavy as much. I don't switch between primary and special. I don't have to worry about handling as much. So I don't foresee myself using that. Another one, under over, I don't see myself using that as well. A lot of times with bows, some people probably could because it's overshield. It has to deal with the overshields, but I don't know. It's not really my thing.
That's what I was going to say, is with the overshields, is there anything that do you normally swap to an energy, or do you use your heavy for that?
I normally just use my energy.
Okay, but you don't feel like still under over wouldn't be worth it compared to, because this is also the damage perk column. This is where other exciting things happen, and just that small bit from under over.
Yeah. What I recently was playing with though, and I haven't done enhanced of this yet, but Perfect Float and Frenzy.
Really?
I think could be fun. Yes, I think that those two could be pretty fun. I didn't realize until probably Duality how much I jump with a bow. I jump a lot with a bow. If I'm shooting Leviathan's Breath, granted, Leviathan's Breath is an exotic. It doesn't have these perks. But just for example, I'm usually always jumping up and back just to make it harder for me during the draw to be hit.
Yeah.
So I noticed that I jump a lot when I'm drawing a bow and then when I'm shooting. So I never really noticed the airborne accuracy until I started realizing, oh, I'm jumping a lot. So with that, I think Perfect Float could actually be pretty good for me. And
That's
then
cool.
Frenzy as well, since I'm already in combat. Just having those extra little, that damage perk and then the extra little stat perks help a lot too.
Yeah.
They do proc at the same time though, even though the description's different. So I don't really know what that's about, but I think that it might be a fun combo.
Yeah, no, that's right. Being in combat for an amount of time, I guess. Yeah, the exact one's moderate, one's like extended, but they proc at the same time. Yeah, that's funny. Well, that's cool to know that you can have those two at the same time. Yeah, stuff like that synergizes is really awesome to look out for. And you're right, there's a lot of other stuff that comes with Frenzy. For those who don't know, you get 50 handling and 50 reload speed, which on a bow is knocking your arrows faster. So
reload can do a lot for a bow. People say that it's not that big of a deal. I would say reload over handling.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Reloads, even when it comes to draw time, a lot of people think, oh, you're not really reloading a bow. It's noticeable. It's very, very noticeable once you're playing with it, once you're getting used to it. If you have that reload speed and that draw speed, I mean, it's just shot after shot after shot. Otherwise, you do have to wait. It can take you out of the rhythm of the draw time, especially if you're not taking into consideration that reload speed.
Yeah, that's good. And also, people don't think of Frenzy as a neutral. I mean, it's a neutral perk for damage, but a lot of people don't think about the neutral benefits of speed from it. Normally, reload isn't that much of a speed thing, but for a bow and arrow, could be as helpful as something like Successful Warm-Up or Archer's Tempo. Like Frenzy is right there in line with them, and I don't think a lot of people are probably thinking that.
With a bow, I think a lot of people, yes, it's one arrow. They realize, okay, it's one arrow, so I have to keep knocking an arrow, keep drawing, keep shooting. It's one after another, but it's fast enough. But I don't think people really realize, compared to another weapon, reload is always an issue. Or not an issue, it's always a factor. Handling's always a factor. Stability's always a factor. Personally, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, I think stability is probably one of the most important aspects of it. And a lot of people disagree with that, but when you're running mostly bows, I think stability is a huge thing.
Is that for...
I will always do that.
Do you like that for the longer draw time and more leniency on your perfect draw? Or is it the stability of getting shot at and still being accurate?
I would say it's mostly the getting shot at and still being accurate.
You get that a lot in PvE.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't use bows. I don't know the best way to say that.
You can say right. They don't use it correctly.
They don't use it correctly. No. A lot of people don't think I use bows correctly, but a lot of people don't solely use bows.
Right.
Granted, I use pulse rifles. I use auto rifle. If it has, as long as it doesn't have green ammo, I use it. But a lot of people will switch between different weapons. So stability isn't as big of a deal because they're not going to solely, while you're in those combat situations, always be drawing back a bow and aiming.
Right.
But with bows, when you're using them and you're constantly drawing back and aiming, you don't want to risk that reload. So that knock, that draw time, and then that shot. That's a good chunk of time.
Right.
If you're getting shot at and then you shoot off, you don't get that shot that takes them down to even a finisher. You're in a situation where you have to knock an arrow, draw it back, take another shot. And it is so simple to pretty much just get that stability up higher and higher to be able to make that shot and actually hit it the first time.
Right.
So you could have the, accuracy to help get that target acquisition, to help hit the target, but at the same time, you may not take into consideration all the enemies that are going to be firing at you.
That's really good. That's really good advice. Man, you're making me reconsider, because this stuff matters in PvP too, and I often take for granted stability and how much I'm getting shot at and am I going to hit that shot, because knocking an arrow again in PvP is just as detrimental and it's crazy how much people don't really think about that. People will, and when I say people, I'm talking about me. Like I think about, okay, I need to get that shot. Whenever milliseconds matter in the Crucible, everybody measures time to kill values in like fractions of a second, and yet knocking an arrow is going to take so much, that's so much time. So that's some really good advice. And I feel like PvP players are also going to benefit from thinking about that a little bit.
I say all the time when people are like, what role should I get for a bow? And I don't know what bow meta is in PvP. PvE, I strongly believe that there is no bow meta. And people will argue with me, they will fight me. You need accuracy, you need draw time, and you need damage. Those are the things that you want. Right. You need accuracy and you need draw time. So put everything into there. I say no, don't do that. What is your play style? You need to cater a bow to your play style. If you are going to shoot faster, not take as much time to aim your shots, then sure, stability might not be your thing. It might be accuracy is what you need. If you're going to be shooting fast, yeah, draw time's going to be what you want. But if you're going to take a while, if you play back some, if you take the time to line up your shots or get out of the way from those enemies so that you are more undercover, you don't have to worry about that as much. They're wasted stats because they're not going to benefit you. So a lot of it just determines how you are going to play. Handling will be very, very important if you switch weapons a lot. A lot of people don't think about handling, but with bows can be very clunky, especially if you're switching it with a special weapon or especially a power weapon. You want to make sure that your handling helps you to stay in the rhythm and keep that I guess keep the rhythm going, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's good. So I have one. First of all, you're changing my methodology for using bows. I'm going to think about this a lot now when I approach them. No, this is great. Like you are approaching this to the bow community the way that I feel like I approach fusion rifles to the fusion community. And I say, yeah, go all range. And everybody's like, don't you need stability? Why are you running 20 stability on that thing? I'm like, no, I have one with 5 stability. This is great. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need everything you think you need. And you might appreciate something else a little bit more if you tried it. So this is great. I'm really curious if you have any thoughts on the speed perks on this bow, like successful warm up, archer's tempo, rapid hit, which is helping you reload that a little bit faster. Do any of those appeal to you in PvE?
I would say yes. Archer's tempo is always one that helps. In any situation, it helps because speed is going to be an issue. Especially because you only get that one shot. You have to knock it, you have to draw it, you have to shoot it. So Archer's tempo is amazing. It is such a smart perk to use. Again, it depends on your play style, what you plan to use it for. I haven't really used successful warm-up all that much, to be honest. I know that it's, final blow. You don't have to even get a precision shot, anything like that. So it helps. It definitely will help. I think there's other perks that might be better for PvE than successful warm-up. I know that pairing that with Archer's tempo makes things really, really fast. But again, it's your play style. I don't need that. It's fun, but I feel like I could get better use out of other perks.
Yeah. I don't need that, and I'm not sure that I could pull the trigger and time it perfectly to where it makes a difference. Like, that's the thing for me, stuff like this, successful warm-up, you can, because for instance, successful warm-up was really great on rapid-fire fusion rifles when it was first introduced, because it just cut the time so much, and then the perk was nerfed a little bit, and now it's not as fast as it was, and it's like, okay, it's to a point where, like, does that matter when rapid fires kill so fast anyway? Does it matter at that point? Like, can I time it to where that increase in speed really matters? And so here it's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, if you got Archer's Tempo and Successful Warm-Up, are you timing it right? Like, it's not like you can put full auto in this thing. That's what I do. That's how I cheat on weapons that are fast. But on here, you can't do that. You have to time that pull perfectly.
Rapid hit, I do like rapid hit, but I am pretty successful at being able to get those precision shots. I know, and I don't say that as a way to like boast, but I shoot enough bows to where I'm pretty good at getting crit shots. So it makes sense for me to use it. At the same time, even though it seems like exactly what I'm talking about, stability and reload speed, like exactly what I'm talking about, I'm able to make up for that also with the way that I set up the arrow and the bowstring. I'm able to accommodate for that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So there's other perks I generally like more.
Awesome. Then my big question here that I like is the one thing that I'm like, whoa, I'm not sure where you would head in this direction with damage perks versus like the speed perks in these columns. How do you judge like which one is higher in your mind? Which one would you choose over another one when you've got damage stuff in the last column like Frenzy and Harmony and Swashbuckler, when you've also got stuff like Successful Warm-Up, Opening Shot, and Explosive Head? How do you weigh those? Which ones would you say is like, oh, this one for sure, and then these ones underneath it?
A lot of times it'll depend on the encounters that you're in.
Right.
I like to take Dragonfly into a dungeon solo because that splash damage, that elemental damage, will take down shields and health of the ads. So if there's a lot of ads, I want something that's going to have that area of effect. If it's something where I know I'm going against sort of more majors, I might want something like Frenzy or even Explosive Head, something to keep doing that damage.
Forget about that for
something that'll do a
Head.
little bit more. Yeah. So that little bit of delay there. I would say, what were the other ones that you said? Opening Shot.
Yeah.
If it's a situation where there aren't as many red bars, the main priority would be to take out a larger target first, like a champion, for example. If you're going against a champion, you're going to want to get that instant shot. So maybe Opening Shot at that point. A lot of times in endgame PvE, you don't have those opportunities to just switch your loadout. So It might be a wasted perk. But at the same time, you have to consider going into the different situations. Duality and Grasp of Avarice ads were a big deal. Huge deal. So that's why I definitely want to go with something that's going to do more damage all around, or something that I can proc faster, quicker, easier. So even Frenzy would be a big one. Other damage perks, I mean, it really just depends.
Yeah.
And it depends on your play style.
That is a good answer. I am curious that you've given me lots of options here, but I'm going to pin you down on just one. Like if you had to craft this thing and just choose one set of perks at the end there, which two would you go for?
Oh gosh. We'll see.
You can cheat. You can cheat. If it's like I have to have the option of these two, you can cheat.
I would have two. I do have Under Your Skin. I have 3 different Under Your Skins crafted, depending on the situation. I would have 2. I would have Dragonfly and Explosive Head.
Yeah.
I currently do not have that crafted because I have an Arsenic Bite. I don't need it.
Right.
But that's my favorite perk combo for a bow. So hands down, if I didn't have that Arsenic Bite, hands down, that would be the roll I would go with. Right now, I'm having fun playing around with Perfect Float and Frenzy. I want to see where it goes. I haven't run it in a dungeon yet. I'm excited to run it in my next duality run to see.
That's cool.
So
okay.
We'll see if it makes much of a difference.
That was not the answer I expected, and that's amazing. I did expect the Dragonfly explosive head, but for a combo that you don't see on other stuff, the perfect float frenzy, that's so interesting. I wouldn't have picked that one.
I don't know if it'll work.
Yeah,
well.
It's still cool though.
I don't know.
Man, okay. Well, we got some great stuff here. Man. Perfect float. Did not see that coming.
Have you played around with shot swap in PvP?
No. Okay, I talked about it today on the glaive. The new glaive has it, and also on the glaive there's another perk, and it's very confusing because there's shot swap and hot swap. And
yes.
And hot swap is very good. I like that one a lot. It's like a 0.9 scaler, so like 10% faster of the swapping weapons just automatically. I love that. But shot swap, I heard it's like 100 handling after a kill plus a scaler, so like the animation goes faster. And I like
it a lot.
I was gonna say,
I just don't,
on a bow.
I was gonna mention it earlier. I like it a lot. I was playing with it. I just don't know enough about it, so I didn't want to talk about it.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about shot swap, because I didn't even consider the fact that you shoot and you get a kill so fast with a bow, and immediately can just swap. Like it's like in a flash. Yeah. You're swapping to whatever you need to. So if you need to swap to something heavy like Leviathan's Breath or whatever, like
exactly.
Oh, that's good.
I haven't used it yet in the Harpy encounter of Spire of the Water, but since I use my lightweight to shoot the eyes on the Harpy, and I have to be really, really fast and then switch to Leviathan's Breath, I'm excited to try that.
That's a cool combo.
It would have been so cool.
Well, I love dreaming about that stuff.
Come on, Bungie, do it.
Okay, well, I think that is everything. Let everyone know one more time where they can find you. I'm so glad you were able to come and shed some light on the
inviting me.
PvE. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
You can find me at twitch.tv/SamiKat or on Twitter and TikTok, SamiKat Plays.
Thank you so much. Awesome. I hope you all enjoyed the deep dive on Tripwire Canary and the wonderful interview with SamiKat. Please go give SamiKat a follow on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Watching her pull off those amazing PvE feats is something else. You won't regret it. If you'd like to hang out more with me and my community, you can talk with me here on Twitter or on TikTok. We have a Discord now going too, and the link for that is in the description. We had a blast the last 2 weeks farming old Raid fusion rifles, and we're really cultivating something special with people who love to have fun in Destiny 2. Excited to share those fusion rifle findings here too, but thank you for joining me with this one. Until next time, GG.